What is going on, guys? Ultimate Deadboy here, back with another video. This is another figure review video, so please stick around for the end. But before we get too started, I want to go ahead and do a small update. I am currently very hard at work at doing the last Ronin versus Predator video that hopefully will come out sometime this coming week. And hopefully it'll be one of my best death battles to date. It is probably going to end up being the longest, and hopefully the most action-packed, and potentially even the most bloody. So it's gonna be more of an experiment. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with today's video. Okay, so real quick before we get into the figure review stuff, like I said earlier, I am very hard at work at trying to bring this particular video to life. Now, this is the particular Predator I chose to go up against the last Ronin. He's got a few other pieces from other Predators, like this axe and the gun. Those are off someone else, but everything else came with this particular version of the Predator, or a Predator. So this version is going to be the one going up against the last Ronin. And all three versions of the last Ronin that are on screen right now will show up as a design, for lack of a better term, at some point throughout the course of that video. So you may be asking, what's with the the fire pit and the lantern? That'll all be explained later. But for now, just know that all three versions of the last Ronin are going to show up, or at least look visually. He's going to look like all three of these throughout that video, and the Predator. Hopefully, I do it justice. I won't be able to do any blood effects really with the Predator like I want to, because I don't have the green version of the Casket of Cruelty. Maybe I can try to get that beforehand, and hopefully make that fight even better with having the Predator bleed as well as the last Ronin. So let's go ahead and get on to the flames and the lantern, and then we'll go from there. So this is the effect. Hopefully it's going to look a little bit better in the actual Predator versus last Ronin video, and hopefully the effect will look a little bit better than it does here. Sorry, my camera is trying to fall out right now, but I'm using an old LED for the light source in the lantern. I'm going to fix that, and hopefully it'll look a little bit better. But in no light at all, the lights do look really well. But as you can see, the fireplace is currently getting blown out of out of frame and making it look very bright. And if I can find a yellow LED or something, I can hopefully make this look a little bit better. But for now, this is the best that I can do with what I have lying around. So hopefully I can get the stuff to properly make these two look really, really nice and a little bit more believable. But even if I don't, hopefully the effect will work in no light like it's going to be shot anyway. So let's move on. Okay, so kicking things off with the last, not the last one, I'm sorry. Kicking things off with the Batman Who Laughs. Now, I don't know much about this version of Batman. From what I can gather, he's essentially Batman, but got cursed with something that the Joker started and got infected with it. And then he went crazy, killed a bunch of people, and then started looking just like this. I saw this at my local, I guess you could say, vintage toy store. It was Dallas Vintage Toys. They had this guy in a bag, so he didn't come with a box, but he did come with a mace, which is very reminiscent to his head. And these spikes are actually relatively prickly, along with his bat ear things. Still have no idea how the guy sees through this metal bar, but anyway, this is also based off more of like the Batman animated series for some reason. But this is probably never gonna show up in any videos. I just got it because I thought it looked good. And I do kind of like the Batman Who Laughs idea and design. I just don't know much about it. So let's move on. Alright, next off, we'll start off with probably everyone's least favorite part of the video. This guy. So for those of you who do not know, this is Stone Cold Steve Austin, by far, in my opinion, best wrestler ever made, or ever, ever in general. Now I don't really watch wrestling that much anymore, but when I did as a kid, Stone Cold Steve Austin was by far my favorite wrestler growing up as a kid, and he's still my favorite wrestler to this day. In my opinion, nobody else has been able to even come close to Austin. So I saw this at the Dallas Vintage Toy Store, or Vintage Toys, and couldn't help myself. I went ahead and picked him up because I've got the Ghostbuster version of Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then just another random version of him. He's currently missing his shirt because I took it off to see if the Ghostbuster suit was compatible with this version of Austin, and it 100% was. I cannot, unfortunately, switch the heads around for some reason, but this version of Austin, you know, this is how he looked like when he was in the ring almost all the time. When he was, you know, wrestling or doing whatever, he looked just like this. So I wanted to have that as for a part of my own collection stuff. The only time he really did wear, you know, more camo pants and non-wrestling attire stuff is shortly after his neck injury, just before he stopped wrestling entirely due to it. But typically this is what he looked like when he went to the ring. He had the knee braces on, he had the Texas Longhorn skull on his leg, and the black leather vest. He does also come with two sets of hands. He's got the closed fist currently installed on him, two pointing finger hands and two gripping hands or microphone holding hands. And then he also comes with a Build-A-Figure of Vince McMahon. For those of you who don't know, in the 90s, Austin and Vince went at it very, very much so. always getting into wrestling fights and butting heads, and Austin just humiliating the crap out of Mr. McMahon. So the early 2000s kid who grew up watching wrestling couldn't resist picking up this guy. So he's probably never gonna show up in any videos aside from maybe the Spider-Man movie, where he shows up as either the announcer or the person Spider-Man is testing his powers on. But that's about it. Alright, now let's kick off the probably more fun portion of the video with the Last Ronin Donatello. Now I have Leonardo and Raphael, and I actually ended up getting Michelangelo as well, so we'll review him in a little bit. But Donatello was never my favorite Ninja Turtle growing up as a kid, but I have since come to understand why he is not needed, but it can be the favorite turtle of most, you know, some people, because he's the one that kind of sticks out from everybody else because he's the smartest and, you know, whatnot. And sometimes his intelligence does get him into certain issues and stuff. So kicking things off with the box art, he's got some really cool poses and stuff, obviously for figure photography and whatnot. A little bit of a read up. This is actually on every single Last Ronin box, because they want to keep the mystery alive to people who have never read the book on who the Last Ronin is. And then on the inside piece, you have another bit of artwork, and then he comes with about probably 6 different hands, technically 8 if you include the closed fists that were installed on him out of the box. But he's got 2 flat gesture hands, he's got gripping hands, and then he's got other what looks to be closed fists or something. Then he's obviously got a more angry expression, and then this I'm assuming Hamato Yoshi clan flag banner thing or whatever. So 9 times out of 10 he's gonna end up rocking the more angry head rather than the one that he currently has on now. This is essentially what he looked like out of the box. The only thing I did was give him his hat. It is, of course, removable and made out of a relatively soft plastic, and it just simply sits on top of his bald head. And actually, he looks really, really good. This is actually a really good interpretation of Donatello. The only thing I'll say is, why does he have a double chin? If you look at his neck, he's got a double chin for some reason. Dude is jacked, but he's got like this double chin thing going on right here on his neck. Am I the only one who's seeing that? If so, let me know down in the comments. But he also has this purple band, and no, this is not connected to his bandana, because his bandana is two totally separate pieces. I do really like the sculpt work on Donatello. Sorry, his bandana fell off in transit, so I was just reinstalling it. Anyway, I really do like the sculpt work on all of these Last Ronin characters, just because they look really good. They look really convincing to the obviously the comic book art that they're inspired by. The only thing I will say that I did not care for were the feet posts, or the holes for the feet. When I originally went to go stand him on the base, I don't know if you can see it well on camera, the peg ended right about there. So there was about that much of a gap before, and it was just, he was not standing correctly. It kept wobbling and falling. So I took a drill bit, went ahead and hollowed out the pegs for the feet, and now they click in all the way, sit flush, just fine. But other than that, that's really the only thing I've actually done to Donatello. Otherwise, he came out of the box looking just like this. Obviously, I installed his bow staff just to complete the look, but otherwise, this is how he looks coming straight out of the box. And then you obviously install his hat, or bottle cap, or whatever thing, separate. And now I'm so sorry if that just ruined this image for you, because this, to me, reminds me of one of those old metal bottle caps that you could get, that people were crazy about when they were kids in the freaking 60s and 70s. So, but that's just me. All in all, his suit is really, really good. He's got really big, bulky pants that look really good. Nice textures and whatnot. The bands for his feet, hands, and robes all look really good. He's got pouches along his belt, a non-functional ring, which makes sense, because if this was all fabric, this would be holding everything together. It's not. It's all sculpted. Doesn't bother me at all. This. I want to see this going forward. Donatello figures, for some reason, when they have the bow staff clip on it, they always make it out of like a freaking ribbon style shit. This is the secret of the ooze Donatello, and for some reason, the things that hold his bow staff in place are ribbon. So Donatello's bow staff is not exactly the thickest thing in the world. So when you go to try to slide this into the, I guess you could say sheath, or what the straps on his back, it just falls straight through just like that. This is sculpted rubbery plastic. It holds its shape. It does what it needs to do. It holds the goddamn bow staff on his back without any freaking issues. So, no more of this. More of this, please, because I hate trying, and especially these damn things come undone. It is a bitch trying to freaking retie it so that way it can hold his stupid bow staff correctly. So, going further, please, for the love of God, sorry about that, I bumped my phone. Please, for the love of God, do stuff like this and not have it be actually tied. I would rather spend a few minutes twisting the bow staff in the right position and, sliding it and twisting it to go inside that rubber piece, rather than freaking trying to tie a stupid little knot to make it work. So, even the original Last Ronin, like the Last Ronin himself, he has something like that. And I think I said the same thing in the video when I reviewed this version of The Last Ronin. I said I want to see this type of stuff moving forward with Donatello's bow staff, because this is so much easier to work with, and it looks just as good as the rest of it, because they're not relying on freaking flimsy ass ribbons to hold Donatello's bow staff in place. So, please, let's go ahead and just do sculpted shit and don't rely on stupid ribbons that just don't look all that realistic or even that much better than this. I did complain about that stuff with the string on the Last Ronin suit, like stuff like this up here and this up here. I complained about that when I did the original review for the Last Ronin. This, I don't have a problem with. It's a simple peg. It's made out of softish sculpted rubber plastic. It's nice and flexible once it's actually there. The only thing is you have to simply turn it to move the bow staff in, or you can just pull it straight out. But that is so much easier than dealing with the stupid twine or ribbon or whatever you want to call it, the original way that the Neca guys would do it. So, just my opinion. Obviously, you don't have to agree with me. The armor plating on his hands and gauntlets on both sides, it's asymmetrical. I think looks really, really good. This paneling up here does look really nice. This symbol on his chest, it does obviously mimic what was shown in the comic books. Really, that's... and obviously they found a sneaky way to include the traditional Ninja Turtle style belt with Donatello. The only thing that they are missing on this version of Donatello is the feet armor. If you look at the box and you compare it with this, slightly little bit of difference. His feet do not have that toe armor or something, and his knee pads are not painted dark gray like they are on the same box. So these technically are supposed to be a darker brown. Not a deal breaker for me. And he's also missing the tabard pieces on his, I guess, skirt look. So, I mean, they are there. They're just a lot smaller than what this depicts it as. These pieces right here, these little flaps right here, should be sitting right about here around his thighs. Not a big deal. Certainly not a deal breaker for me. I just happened to notice that when I was handling with Donatello and making sure that, you know, he obviously fit in line with everybody else. But we'll get into that shot later in the video. So let me know what you think of this, and let's keep going. Alright, now coming down to the Last Ronin himself, Michelangelo. Super excited to get this guy. Michelangelo is one of my favorite Ninja Turtle characters of all time. Growing up, seeing him in the 2003's Ninja Turtle show, I thought was awesome. Very, very funny character. Now, not this particular version of him, but that's beside the point. But we'll get into why I do like this figure in a little bit more detail later on. Starting off with the box, you can obviously tell that they got most of the suit accurate. Very good so far. And he's also in a very dramatic style pose, as Michelangelo should be. Some more artwork on the side. Can't really see it all that well on camera. With what looks to be April and the Fugitoid in the background. Really nice touch. Please give us those two characters. And then on the back, he's got some artwork of, I believe, one of their foot soldiers. And obviously Leonardo standing next to him. And what appears to be Casey Jones in the back as well. Very sneaky there, my friends. Because people who are just looking to get the main turtles, they're going to see Michelangelo, and they're going to see Michelangelo here. There's also another shot of Casey Jones or whatever right here. So that is going to entice some people to go out and get Casey Jones and Leonardo, especially Leonardo since he's standing so close to Michelangelo. Very clever. And then obviously the same read up as the other Last Ronin characters along with the comic book artwork on the side. More figure photography on the inside of the box, along with 3 different destroyed or damaged foot soldiers. Just like everybody else, he does come with a different array of hands, 6 in total, plus the 2 closed fists currently installed on him, nunchucking hands, splayed out finger palm hands, and flat ninja style hands. And then he also has a more grumpy, angrier, open mouth expression, just like everybody else. 9 times out of 10, that's what my version of Michelangelo is going to be looking like. Now the figure. Almost 10 out of 10. We'll explain why here in a little bit. But just the detail work on this guy is really, really good. So, like I said, this guy is the last Ronin. He eventually becomes this. And I really just now noticed how much taller the last Ronin is compared to his younger self. Makes sense. This is more of a teenager style Michelangelo versus this is more of a grizzled 40-year-old Michelangelo. So that's kind of funny. He's still not near as tall as his battle-damaged counterpart, but we'll ignore that. But easily one of the most interesting but so simple designs for the Last Ronin line. I was just talking about Donatello and how nice and clean his suit looked. And I'm still going to go with that. And I'm still going to stand by that, because when you look at them side by side with each other, Michelangelo's outfit is, a little bit more simple than what Donatello is. But in a weird way, he's also not. It's just as detailed as Donatello's suit is. And then when you compare it with characters from the same line, like for instance, you compare him to Leonardo. Leonardo's suit is a lot more detailed and a lot more busy than Michelangelo's is, because Michelangelo just simply has pants, some wraps, a little bit of chest armor, pouches, nunchucks, and a hood. Versus Leo has a strap here, multiple pouches, multiple kunai, multiple pouches on his back, a fully rubberized neck collar piece, tattered clothes, jeans, armor plating here, armor plating on his feet, wrapping on his legs, armor plating on his shins, armor plating on his gauntlets, his hands, more armor plating on his shoulders. There's a lot more going on with Leonardo than there is with Michelangelo. And I just find that funny because around this time for the story, they're at war. So you would think that they would all be wearing the same style armor or whatever to make sure they're well protected. Even going up against a character like Raphael. Raphael is obviously the toughest turtle out of all 4 of them, but by no means is he the most armored. He's got foot armor, knee armor, the leather strapping on his on his leg that can also holster one of his sides. He's also got some pouches along his belt, more leather style armor on his back and on his shoulder, and a more tactile feeling vest with more pouches, but that's not that. He's probably the second least armored turtle out of all 4 of them. You'll see what I mean once we get into the comparisons and I show all 4 of these guys standing together. So, but I mean, even them standing next to each other, for some reason, don't let it fool you. These guys are about the same height. Raphael just has his knees bent. If he was standing straight up and down like Michelangelo, they would be about the same height. So, with that being said, I love this version of Michelangelo easily. His design is so fun, or so simple, but so good. I mean, he like I said, he's just got simple armor paneling for his tunic or jacket or whatever you want to call it. He's got like more style hockey gear on his chest. I really do like that. Plus more buckles and pouches and stuff on his back, and just a simple hood. That's all he needed. I wish the hood was functional, or had a replacement switch out piece. No harm, no foul. His bandana is comically small, as it usually is with Michelangelo for some reason. But the nunchucks are so cool. Not only are they actually properly scaled, unlike the nunchucks from Secret of the Ooze. Granted, these were wired, and that was cool because you could actually get them into some really fun poses, and you could actually holster them on his belt in a really nice way as well. These are more proper scaled nunchucks, and they have a real metal chain. You just can't beat that for me. And now, yes, I wish that there was a wire in the chain so you could have Michelangelo looking like he's spinning it, or it's bailing off, or like he's fixing to hit someone with it. That's fine. I can live with that. And then obviously he's got these really nice squishy, rubbery plastic holsters on his chest rather than having them holster on his belt. I actually do like that touch because it adds a little bit of differentiance from one version of Michelangelo to the next. So not all versions of Michelangelo are going to look the same. You know, I've seen people complain. Now, this is not the best comparison, but some people won't collect stormtroopers from like Hot Toys or whatever because, or even clone troopers because they all look the same. This won't do that. You can have one version of Michelangelo. You can have freaking Secret of the Ooze Michelangelo. You can have battle damage Michelangelo. You can have fully armored Michelangelo, and so on and so forth, and they will all look slightly different. You know, obviously figure depending or comic book depending on what you do. But that's with any Ninja Turtles figure. That was probably not the best analogy to go with, but a little bit of differentiation, never a problem. I do also like that Michelangelo and Raphael's bandanas are tattered. If you look at Leonardo's bandana, it's very clean. It's very sharp. It's not. It looks more like it was professionally cut, rather than Michelangelo. If you look at the edges, all the crap on his mask are tattered. Same thing with Raphael's. It's very tattered, very miscut and everything. It's not super clean like Michelangelo or like Leonardo. Even Donatello's bandana is more tattered and weathered and looking a little bit more worse for wear. So it's kind of funny that Leonardo is actually the only one that has a non-tattered bandana. So, but I can explain the tatters off as they're at war. Like I said earlier, their stuff is not going to be 100% pristine, which is why there's scratches and dents and everything else all over their bodies and armor, because they're at war. So, and then just like everybody else, Michelangelo's sculpt work is phenomenal. I love the armor plating details, the little black lines to mimic scratches and folds and everything else. Just adds a little bit more comic bookiness to it. The wrappings for the sculpt work for the wrappings on his feet, shins and arms and wrists all look good. He even does have the back armor plating on his hands. And accurately, unlike Donatello, does not have armor plating on his feet. But like I said, the only thing I really wish that this version of Michelangelo did come with was an interchangeable hood piece. So that way you could pop the hood off, have it look like he's wearing it, and go from there. Easy thing, no big deal. Certainly not a figure breaking thing. So let's go ahead and get all four brothers standing outside right now. And there we have it, my friends. Freaking all four Last Ronin style Ninja Turtles standing together. I am so happy that I have this shot now. I really need to hurry up and build a display case for all of my Ninja Turtle figures. Because I will be having a Last Ronin section, obviously. And these guys are going to be standing front and center on their own shelf alongside, obviously, the Last Ronin himself. Plus, I'm going to leave room for the Ghost Turtles whenever they are officially released and opened to the general public. But this looks really, really good. All four brothers standing together, armored up, ready for war and whatnot. I'm probably going to stop here, at least for the main flashback characters. I may potentially get Casey Jones, but he's not my favorite character from the Ninja Turtles, but he's not my least favorite either. Um, but you know, this works for me as the flashback Ninja Turtle last Ronin characters. If they end up making more that's not the Ghost Turtles or Ghost Brothers, then I'll see what I'll do from there. But for now, these guys work just fine. And we got one more guy to review. Well, sort of review. This is essentially the 2003's Ninja Turtles Metalhead. Now, technically, he never went by that name. He was always called just the Turtlebot, and he was based off the original video game from the 2003's Ninja Turtles TV series. But he did appear in one episode. I think the episode was called Meet Leatherhead. And in that episode, Baxter Stockman is having his, whatever's left of his head, put into an Utrom bodysuit. And he has the Turtlebot kind of as a backup guard alongside Leatherhead. But his color scheme does not look like this. This color scheme is inspired by the TMNT video game. I was at my local, the Dallas Vintage Toys. I saw this. This was one of the ones that I could not get when I was a kid. We saw it one time at the store. We went back the next day and he was completely gone and we never found him again. So to be able to find him original and in his original box, priceless. He does come with the same weapons as the regular Turtles do. He's got Donatello's bow staff and obviously Leonardo's katanas, but they're sculpted in yellow plastic. That is because in the video game, his weapons were actually energy versions of the Turtles' regular weapons, making him extremely overpowered in that game. But in the show, they just simply came out of his hands, and they were just like generic style weapons. But in the video game, they decided to make them more energy weapons. So, and then obviously it's got the Monday through Friday Cartoon Network's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and weekends on new episodes on Foxbox. I remember those the box arts with stuff like that. So that's a huge nostalgia trip for me. Because this is original. This is not a reissue or re-release. The only thing is the box is caved in up top here. Nothing major. So here's a slightly better image of the whole thing. So like I said, he does come with the energy style weapons, or Razor Jet Mach Turtle weapons. That's exactly what it says right here. He also has the back shell power pack, so the battery that powers this robot is in his shell. He's got a high-tech Stocktronics armor, which is what his body is made of, artificial and antisocial intelligence in his head. This is all coming off straight from the box. And then it says, let the turtles show you the true way of the ninja. And then it says, help the turtles battle evil forces of Shredder, blah, 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 blah. And I actually have all of these guys somewhere in my collection of old figures that I had from growing up as a kid, except Quarry. Just like the Ninja Turtle robot, Quarry right up here in the top, in the corner. We saw her one time at Walmart. We went back to go get it the next day, and unfortunately, she is now actually one of the most rare turtle figures of all time, because she is actually very difficult to come by, especially in good condition. The cheapest one that I found originally on eBay, they wanted like a $900 something on dollars for it. So very, very difficult to come by. And then I always love these little read-ups where, it's got like a little read-up here, so please feel free to pause to read right here. But and back in the day, you could actually cut this out and display it next to your Ninja Turtle figures. I never did that. The boxes ended up just getting thrown away, but it was there if you wanted it. And then obviously I don't think this website still works anymore. But there's also, video game sites and stuff like that. Even though the internet was still kind of in its infancy at that at that time. So I am probably never going to take this guy out of his box, just for that nostalgia trip, and whatnot, and just to keep the figure as pristine as possible. Just because I do like this character from that video game, and knowing how difficult it was for me to find it and get it as a kid and now an adult. Definitely a nostalgia trip for me, when I saw this guy on the shelf at Dallas Vintage. And one of my best friends, his name is James, said, dude, get it. If you had that hard of a time trying to get it when you were a kid, freaking go for it now. And I said, don't tell me twice. So, but that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys all next time. Bye.